2019. That was the day I downloaded TikTok. I was in school with all my friends, and they were saying, "Oh, TikTok is so fun, and you should get it. And if you don't get it, you're some weird YouTube Shorts kid." I remember there was also this fat girl who made TikToks, so it got me wondering, what was all the hype about? When I got home, I searched up this app and I downloaded it. Initially, I downloaded it as a somewhat joke, but and I thought I wasn't really gonna use it. But man, I got addicted to that thing quickly, real quickly. If I wasn't playing video games, fapping, or at school, I'll spend all my spare hours on this time. The hours seem to fly by every single day. And now that I look back, I wish I spent the same hours developing myself. I'm not gonna waste your time in this video. If you're watching this, then you probably already know the negatives of social media. You've probably tried to quit this addiction. And no offense, but if you're watching this, then whatever you are doing to quit social media is probably wrong. You've probably tried deleting these apps and not using them anymore. But what happens after the hours pass by? But after some hours go by, you download them again. So here's the problem: you have a belief that you have the belief that you want to quit social media, but that is impossible. Quitting means you're never gonna use social media for the rest of your life until you die, and that is probably not what you want. What you need to do is reduce the time you spend on these apps. But here's the problem: having that belief of quitting social media puts you in the addiction cycle. First, you make this unrealistic goal of quitting social media. Secondly, you fail that unrealistic goal. Thirdly, you feel upset that you have failed, and to cope with the stress, you indulge in more social media, and this cycle just repeats and repeats. If you ever want to quit an addiction, you need to build willpower. When you delete these apps that you're addicted to, it's like a fat person throwing away their junk food, or an alcoholic angrily smashing their bottles after hearing this advice. But after a few days, the fat person and the alcoholic will just end up buying the junk food and the alcohol again. The idea of willpower is you need to have the things that you're addicted to right in front of you. I don't want you to delete those apps. If you want to keep, I want you to keep them and say no to them. The alcoholic who has beer on the shelf will be the successful one who quit, because he had the choice to indulge, but he had leveled up this skill to avoid the temptations. So keep the apps. Here's the number one thing that will actually allow you to quit these apps, and that is mindfulness. It's something that no one is talking about, yet it's one of the most powerful ways to quit any addiction. This is because when you're addicted, your addictions usually come from when you're bored or not thinking correctly, when you're mindfulness or you're bored. And mindfulness helps you keep that level-headed thinking and allow yourself to say no to these addictions. So, how do you increase mindfulness? You need to meditate. The idea is to sit down and focus on your breath. Every time you get an irrelevant thought, you return to focusing on your breath. When you do this, it is like a hammer call for your brain. Just follow this framework on the screen. Just follow the framework on the screen. I'll suggest writing it down, printing it, journaling, taking a screenshot, setting it as your wallpaper, sending it to your parents or friends, or whatever. Just keep it in mind. Just keep this in mind. On top of this, mindfulness will benefit every aspect of your life, whether it's focus, being present, or whatever. Mindfulness will undoubtedly improve your life. 2. You need to have a realistic plan. You already know that quitting is impossible, so you need to reduce the time you spend on these apps. Use them in moderation, like 1 hour a day, so you don't get as much of the negative side effects, and you don't feel guilty because if you do, it will put you back in the habit cycle. So, one of the best ways to reduce the time and wasted on addiction is by replacing it. You probably go on TikTok or play video games when you're bored. So journal and think when and why you indulge in these apps, and replace that time that you would often play video games or scroll on social media with something else. The best thing you can replace it with is exercise. Not only do you get 1 hour of no waste, not only do you spend 1 hour improve yourself rather than wasting your time, but you also get long-term benefits of more muscle, more confidence, and overall just a better life. One last thing. You need to expect failure. You will undoubtedly return to these addictions at some point or another. You need to hold yourself accountable. You might feel ashamed and annoyed after playing video games or spending too much time on social media, but what you need to do is journal this down. For example, journal down, I spent too much time playing video games and I felt awful, but I will do better tomorrow. So, when you look back on your journal, you will solidify these beliefs and be less likely to do them.